It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. And this time I'm recording. And thank you, fake band. Thank you, fake audience. I love you people. iCarly rocks. I'm really excited about today's show because we've got two people that I absolutely adore on the show, one of whom is still sitting on the freeway and not here yet. But we've got Chuck Henry, who's been on the show at least a couple of times in the past, one of our most successful members in the history of the company and a good friend of mine for, I don't know, maybe 15 years now or more. And Matt Vanderbo, who's sitting in the back of an Uber on the 405, just absolutely crapping himself right now because he's not here. So, a little housekeeping to take care of before I start the show, and that is, you know the drill. If you haven't done so already and you're watching the archive on YouTube, make sure to hit that little subscribe button underneath that taxi in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We love subscribers. And like us. Because we're in Los Angeles, we need to be liked. I want to apologize to Mr. Bob Bailey, who sent this in 2 weeks ago for mail time. And unfortunately, the people below us in our office complex are called tax consultants, tax group consultants, something, TAX. So guess where the mail person took this because it was made out to Taxi. Yep, even though this gentleman tried to get it in on time by spending the extra money and sending it via, USPS Express. Probably dropped like, he dropped $23.75 to get this here on time. And where did the mail carrier take it? To the wrong damn office. So you have my sincere apologies, Bob. We will make this right. The next time we do mail time, guess who's going to be played first? You are, Bob. Anyway, my apologies. So, we do have half of the dynamic duo here today, and I'm going to introduce him right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chuck Henry.
Can I move over?
Yeah, come on over.
Hi.
Like way over. Oh, like sit on my lap. There he is. Yeah. What's the show? I can never, it's like Friends with nerds. The sitcom. Oh, let me get the chat room open because you guys help me figure stuff like that out. There we go. Hello, chatters. Anyway, on that show, they do a segment called Fun with Flags, and they do a little webcast. It reminds me an awful lot of Taxi TV because it, too, is a very hi-fi production.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I can't think of the name of the show. Anyway, don't call me. I'm in the middle of broadcasting. They have, whatever. Anyway, okay, so the theme of today's show is how to quit your day job. And I need to tell a little story about Chuck because very early in our friendship and him being a taxi member, it could have been before I don't remember. All I know is I was in Nordstrom in Woodland Hills, and there was a guy playing piano underneath an escalator. And that was him. And guess who doesn't play piano under escalators anymore?
Me.
Yep, you.
Well, no one plays at Nordstrom. They quit that like 7 years ago or so.
I was at the doctor's office at Kaiser about 2 weeks ago, and they now have a grand piano in their lobby, and they've got some guy playing piano. And I thought of you. It reminded me of seeing you. Hey, I know you. You're Chuck, right? Anyway, Chuck is like a rags to riches story. It's pretty awesome, and he may be the greatest example of taxi members who've been able to quit their day job. Look, everybody's got this dream. I think most people have the dream of, gee, wouldn't it be awesome to earn an income doing something I love? And look at him. I mean, if he can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm saying that only in jest because I've known him for so long. So do I have any notes for today's show like I usually do? Nope. Zero. I have a blank piece of paper with their names written on it.
Just going to wing it.
Yeah, and let's see who we know there. We have Kim Dreimer, Lawrence, Lori Wynn, Mark Doyle, Gloria Covington. Whoops, I should scroll down. There those people are. Adriana, Steve Frisch, Eric Spurl, Vicky, Mark Doyle, Asaf, Toonsmith, Kano, how are you, man? Anyway, Jesse, hello, Jesse. So, people, I was on somebody else's forum, not the taxi forum, which everybody should be on, but I was on somebody else's forum over the weekend, and these guys were going on and on and on about pay-to-play services like taxi and why they suck and you don't need them and you can do it all on your own. And you've known me long enough to know that our brochure says, hey, the taxi is the second best way. The first best way is to do it on your own. But most people don't. It's really easy to dream about it and think about it and want it and desire it and then never getting around to it. What was it that caused you to just go, I'm going to do this? What were you doing before you started earning your living doing mostly TV cues and records?
Well, I was a piano player for years, like at Nordstrom.
Yeah. You
So
were able to carve a living
Well,
out of
yeah,
it?
I was full-time. I was actually the piano manager at Topanga.
Oh,
On the
okay.
street, so I'm in charge of scheduling and hiring and firing. And but sometimes I'd play 6 hours there, and I'd go over to Houston's restaurant and play 4 more hours, and then I taught piano lessons too. Ugh. That was my favorite thing to do.
That must have been like a Ferrari at a go-kart track. You sitting there with like an 8-year-old going, okay, middle C is where?
Me and my friend called them taking naps because I'd like fall asleep. And at one time I got busted. She had finished playing, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. I already been playing. I was like, and then she goes, I'm done. I was like, play it again. Yeah, that was nice.
Oh man! I'm assuming it was a kid and not.
Well, probably 15.
Oh, okay. So old enough to go home and tell mom.
Yeah. Well, I was at their house, but.
Oh, okay. Don't mind me, lady.
Yeah,
I'm just taking a nap in your living room.
Don't miss those days.
How long has it been since you've done that?
God, I'd say 10 years
Wow.
at least.
Yeah, at least. 'Cause I think you've been a taxi member for well over 15 at this point. Do you remember what the first listing was that you ever submitted to, or the first deal you ever got offered, or any of that early stuff where the lights went on and kind of ding ding?
Well, I
ding?
remember when I was like I said, was playing hours a day at Nordstrom and wherever else, and I remember I had been thinking about quitting because it was just, I didn't have time to write. I remember one time I played for like 10 hours. I get home, flick on all my stuff in my studio.
Yeah.
All right, it's time to write. So I sat there like, screw this, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So, one year they changed up the piano program direction and made like a central person in charge of the whole region.
For Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of just having different piano managers. And they said, if you're not happy with the new direction, you're more than welcome to take severance pay, but you cannot come back to the company for 1 year. I was like, bing, I'm out. So, it's like, this is it. So I took the severance. It's like $2,500, what we did. But I cashed in my 401k, and I said, all right, I'm just going to...
So you had a 401k through Nordstrom?
Yeah.
So you were actually a Nordstrom employee. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Punched it on time clock and everything. But I said, I'm going to take the taxi listings. I did. I took them. I was like, oh, that was good. Oh, I can do that. I sat there every day. It was so great not having to get up and put a monkey suit on and go play piano all day. But I sat, it's the best thing I ever did. And I wrote for the taxi listings and learned so much in that time. I had to go back after a year because the money wasn't quite coming in yet. So I called Nordstrom, like, can I come back? Like, yeah, we'd love to have you. So,
crawling back on your hands and knees to Nordstrom.
but
Oh, man, that must have been humbling.
it was fine. Yeah.
It's cool that you mentioned that in a year the money wasn't rolling in yet, because I think so many people have this this image that they're going to sign up for taxi, they're going to submit their music, and 30, 60, 90 days, maybe 6 months later, the checks are going to start rolling, and he's laughing. And then there's, you know, the 5-year plan, which we had Matt Hurd on the show like a month or so ago, and he talked about the 5-year plan, which all these guys kind of grew up, Matt and you especially grew up in taxi,
Yeah.
in quotes, kind of together at the same
Yeah.
time. Um, how long from the point when you first joined until you got your first placement did it take?
Uh, uh, I had actually had placements years before that one on that old soap opera called Santa Barbara.
Oh,
Date,
yeah.
date myself here, but that was, I think, the only thing I'd had before Taxi. So long ago, I can't remember.
All right.
um,
Do you remember the no, I was going to say, do you remember the first company you signed with? But then a million people will all just call that company and say, sign me, sign me. Um,
I think they're actually not even in business anymore. It was like that when I was telling you about it.
oh, yeah.
David guy.
Right. Yeah, we were just sitting here before the show started comparing notes on companies that we used to know that are no longer in business, or maybe the owners aren't even alive because we haven't heard from them in so long. Uh, Okay, so I know it's been a long time, and it might be hard to remember this stuff because I can't remember what I had for breakfast today. When you first started writing to those listings, and you started submitting, what did it feel like when you got rejected? I mean, did you see it as a learning experience? Were you just pissed off like somebody
Well,
was trying to hold you back? Or
honestly, I wasn't real thrilled about it, but then
Yeah.
when I would read the critiques, I'd be like, oh, okay, I see. All right, I got it. All right, they're right.
Wow.
So, and a lot of times I would take that and fix up what was wrong.
I've got to say, we didn't have a lot of people on our A&R team back then that were really any good at instrumental stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of the people that we had on the, I'm talking 25 years ago, so there wasn't a lot of action in the film and TV, primarily. Like, now there's so much activity, especially in the instrumental cue world with reality TV. Back then it just didn't exist. So we had screeners that were mostly like songcraft people that were also winging it to some degree. John Brahaney, the dearly departed John Brahaney, I remember several times where he'd be working on instrumental cue listings and walk down here and get advice from me, and I was like the only person under the roof. Actually, it was in an apartment back then. I was the only person under the roof that really knew because I used to be a post mixer on a lot of commercials, so I used a lot of library music. Um,
I remember that apartment. I came in, it was like the first time I joined was 1995,
wow.
and I came to that two-story apartment in
Yep.
Woodland Hills, and you had a little tiny desk. I think you and Doug were there.
Doug Minnick, he joined
Yeah.
us in '94.
Yeah.
I miss having Doug around here.
Yeah,
He was a great
cool.
guy.
I liked him.
He, Doug Minnick, our vice president for many years. And we did. For those of you who don't know, we actually had Taxi started out of a one-bedroom apartment in Woodland Hills that my then fiance and myself lived in. She's now my wife. And we had a mattress on the floor in the bedroom and a couch and a love seat in the living room. And she would come home from grad school and there would be screeners on the couch and the love seat, paperwork spread out all over the floor. And one day she walked into the bedroom and found 4 people sitting on our mattress on the floor screaming. And she just looked at me, like tears started rolling down. It's like, do we get any friggin' privacy? But it paid off, and here we are all these years later. So what was the first genre of music that you attempted to do?
Lots of stuff probably that had piano in it.
Were you doing piano samples at the time, or did you have a real piano and you
No,
were
it was
miking it?
samples. I didn't have a real piano here.
Yeah.
God. There was a lot of, I guess there were some listings for drama, I remember, dramatic stuff I did. World music, I did a lot of that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was cool. There was a hip-hop listing, gosh, this was maybe in the late 90s, looking for 30-second hip-hop cues.
Yeah.
And I got forwarded on it. I think it's for a movie or something. I didn't hear back from them. About 2 years later, someone introduced me, but told me about, I don't know how I found it, but the music supervisor on Pimp My Ride at MTV was looking for hip hop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember he did those hip hop cues. Let me go check them out. And I was listening to them. I was like, they're pretty good actually. So I submitted them, and forgot about it. And I think he called like 4 months later. He's like, yeah, I love your beats, man. I was like, he likes my beats. He likes my percussion and drums. I didn't know what the word beats meant. Found out later. But he's like, yeah, man, we'll sign more. And hoping to get a bunch of money, but so we just do gratis licensing. I'm like, okay.
Which back then, everybody, just so you know, if anybody's watching a show that doesn't know this yet, gratis licensing means free. You hand them the music, they use it on their show, and you get paid on the back end through your performing rights organization, which can be very substantial.
Well, it's like, I think it was like, I don't know how many, maybe 10 tracks. And I just forgot about it, and then 9 months later, I get something from ASCAP. I'm used to seeing ASCAP has no records of your performances for this period. I'm like, oh man, it was like over $900.
Wow.
And that was just the writers, and the publishing came in after that, or they came in, I think publishing came in first. So I'm like, $1,800. Crap, I should start doing more. So that kind of got me really excited that I guess this does work.
It's so funny that as Matt Hurt explained almost the same thing. Like the first time he got paid for something, like ding, light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it why so many people walk away from it so early in the game. They get frustrated when it's a pretty, I hate to use the word formula because I know so many musicians hate even the concept of things being formulaic. But there are formulas that work. And once you understand, it really comes down to, it's like song construction. Cue construction. There are certain types of cues, like, all A section with maybe a middle 8 B section, then back to the A section again. But you grow it by layering as you approach the B section and drop it down, then B section, then start building it back up, and then ta-da, big finale at the end. And it's not rocket science, but it
definitely an art
works.
form to make cues work, so they're going to work on television.
Yeah, but people are resistant to that because they feel like they're selling out or doing something that's beneath them. But I don't know. I would much rather be doing TV cues than, playing the piano under an escalator at Nordstrom.
I absolutely love it. I just sit at home and write music all day or whenever I want to write music. And
Do you work like a solid 8-hour day, 5
Sometimes.
days a week? Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Is it Matt?
No, it's my dentist. I'm sorry. I can't believe I didn't. Okay, my phone is now shut off. Sorry about that. Okay, so tell us about a typical day at the Chuck Henry.
There's really no typical day. But I guess a typical, I might get up early, have coffee. It depends. It could be 5:30, could be 6, could be 7.
Okay,
well,
so
I'm working early. It's kind of more fresh, I guess.
Yeah.
Check email, go on Facebook. What a time waster that is. And then I'll start writing whatever I got to do. I'll take a break during the day, go to the gym or the spa, and then write until I get too tired. Usually around these days, around like 9 o'clock, I'm like, okay, I can't do anymore. Screw this. So I'll just.
Do you have a plan every day when you get out of bed that, I know I need to write more cues for this catalog
if I'm
or
working
for this
on
show?
If I'm working on a show, like I've been doing the Real Housewives of New York the past couple of months, so I had to churn out a bunch for that. So I knew when I got up, okay, I got to do some more of this. Now I'm doing Basketball Wives. All these wives shows. What the hell?
I try to watch some of them and I can't make it through. I mean, they're.
Oh God, I watched Real Housewives of New York the other day. The season I'm doing. Oh God, it's not watchable.
It's tough.
I like some of the ones I do, but not that one. It's just like, really.
Yeah, but millions of people prove us wrong every week when they watch them. So, okay, so you know that you've got, let's say that you're doing dramedy cues, and you know that you need to crank out 10 of them to round out a catalog for a specific project or a specific show. Do you ever make notes about sketch ideas for these things, or do you just sit down and go through beats and go, yeah, I like that. That feels good. I can build something around that. What's your process?
I never sketch anything out. No, I just start with like, okay, what key should I do this in? E flat, whatever.
Okay, what makes you make that decision?
Just random. I just look at the keyboard like, how about A, do that. And I'll just pick a tempo like 112. What the hell? So,
Do you think about your tempos according to what seems to get picked up more frequently than not? Like, would a 130 be something they can use more often than a 112?
depends on the genre. Like, a good friend of mine is a music soup at Peter Murray, and he was mentioning lately how a lot of hip hop is just too slow for TV. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I've started doing a lot of up-tempo hip hop lately just because he said that. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Let's talk about how you personally stay current when you're making these cues. Feel free, by the way, those waters are for you.
Oh, I'm thirsty.
Yeah. Water's cheap here. Now that the drought's over, we're just swimming in it. No pun intended. Okay, so, well, what the heck was my question about hip hop? I totally lost my question.
I brain farts all the time.
Yeah, we're getting old. Yeah, we've known each other for so long that we're actually growing old together. Relatively speaking, we're the same age, but we're growing old. Okay, so you sit down and you pick the tempo and you pick your key, and then what? What's your next thing that you do?
Well, it depends what kind of music I'm writing. If it's like hip hop, I'll probably go find beats and percussion first and build around that.
Where do you go to
Well, see,
find
when
it?
I write, well, I have just an arsenal of sounds and drum sounds and loops and stuff. You just build it.
And so, are any of these like pre-constructed beats, or do you literally sit down with the kick drum and do that, and then
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you favor one way of working over the other?
Mm-hmm. A lot of times I mix the two together.
Yeah. So
That
you
sounds
take a
good.
pre-constructed, a prefab beat, and then layer other stuff in just to
Or
make it
start with the groove and then like
Ah.
a kick and snare, whatever, and then I'll add loops on top of that and build it. I never know when I start a cue or whatever. I never know where it's going to end up. I just kind of start in the middle and it just basically becomes one.
And
There's no-
do you finish almost every one that you start? Because if you feel that it's not working out well, you go back a couple of steps and revive it.
I've done that. I've done where like it's just not working, so I'll just close it and start another one, and then come back to that. Maybe just take a few parts of that and erase the rest of it that I didn't like. It works.
How many do you do in a day?
When I was doing the Real Housewives, I was doing about 2 a day
Wow.
because it was pretty easy.
And do you work a 5-day week or a 6-day week? Or a 7-day week?
7. I mean, to me, I always say my work is play. I get to write music, and I love doing that. So, a lot of people have that as a hobby, I guess. But me, it's just I love writing music. So it's not really a job. I don't think of it as work.
I know what kind of money he makes, and I'm not going to give you a specific number, but
I do think doing metadata is work. I hate that.
yeah, everybody hates that. We should talk about that today. But he makes an enviable income. I would say like a dentist would make that kind of income, or a veterinarian, or a lawyer. It's like you make a professional level income, which I'm a huge fan of, not just from the making money perspective, but I wrote an article in Music Connection or somewhere probably 10 years ago called The Musician Middle Class. And my thesis for the article was, if a plumber or a lawyer or a veterinarian, any of these professionals, they've earned the right to go hang up a shingle and earn income. Why is it that musicians can spend an equivalent amount of time or longer, and when they've earned the right to call him or herself a professional musician, there isn't like a veterinary clinic they can go work at and make that money? You've really got to do it on your own. And so you're living proof that somebody who's willing to study it and work at it and be persistent with it is able to turn it into that level of income
You got to go through some rough years. I mean, it takes a long time to get it really built up, like the 5-year plan. I mean, hell, 10, 12 years ago, I had creditors calling me because my credit cards were maxed out and I could barely pay the rent. And I was like, jeez.
You'll never be there again.
No,
Never.
I hope not.
No, I mean,
Well, no.
unless the entire industry
Yeah.
melts down, you won't. Because, first of all, you've laid the groundwork. It's cumulative.
Mhm.
How many tracks do you think you've got out there in the world now in various catalogs?
Oh, well, over 1,000.
Okay, so, and it took you 10 years to get there?
I think so.
So,
Yeah, but
and I would imagine that you have become more adept and faster because of just doing it more frequently. So now the curve, I guess I have to do it in reverse, the curve is going up as far as productivity.
mm,
And yeah, so by the time your retirement age, which you don't really have to retire if you don't think of this as work and you love doing what you're doing, but I would imagine that, let's say you stop at 70. You just go, I'm going to take up fishing.
you like fishing, remember?
I do. I love fishing, saltwater especially. In case any of you live in South Florida, ever want to take me fishing, I'm available. Anyway, so yeah, you could just stop. By the time you're 70, you'll probably have 2,000, 3,000 tracks out there, and that stuff will continue to earn you money even though you're no longer working.
Yeah. Unless the like you said, she just completely implodes and they don't
Yeah.
have television or films or commercials anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going anywhere.
in the comment section of Taxi TV and YouTube, somebody said, made a comment that said, I'm just worried that there's so many people out there doing it now that the competition's too stiff. And why should I get in now? I feel like I'm late to the game. And I wrote back to the guy and said, yeah, there are definitely infinitely more people doing it than ever were.
Mhm.
But there are way more outlets for it.
Yeah.
Shows being produced by Netflix and Amazon, their own shows. So all these old paradigms that we know about TV, look, it started out with 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS and PBS back when I was a kid, and now hundreds of channels on, your cable and all these other ways. So yeah,
When they're
that was my stomach growling. That was not a fart.
we got Cece coming. They're making reality shows like every day. There's a new one coming out.
Yeah.
You see on TV. It's like, what the hell is that one? They come up with these craziest ideas that made me thank God because.
I think Vanderbilt might. I hear a ruckus
Uh-oh.
down the hallway.
That could be Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Okay, so you get up and you do your thing or two, and you make your couple. Yeah, here comes somebody. Yep, here comes Vanderbilt.
Johnny. There's his.
There he
Almost
is.
said-
Come on in.
Oh, thanks, man. See you in a bit.
It's about damn time. Thank you, man.
Sit your butt down here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Matt Vanderbilt. All right.
have to give you a hug. What a day, huh? Oh,
How's
man.
your travel day?
This has been a mess.
Sit your butt down there.
Oh, there?
Oh, you're the guest.
Oh,
Well,
hey,
I've been
you're
yapping
both
for
the
the
guest.
past
I know I've been watching it on my phone in the
It's your
cab,
turn.
in the Uber.
Uber. Want some
All
water?
right. So
Yeah.
here,
Yeah, thanks.
scoot up and in a little bit
That's
so
what
that
I
we
look
can get so we can get Chuck.
He's all
Chuck,
discombobulated.
come on over. Okay, so I want to finish up. By the way, everybody, this is Matt Vanderbilt. He just flew in from Boise, Idaho. I asked him, I called him like 72 hours ago and said, hey, can you come to LA on Monday? We had an issue. I see it as a taxi learning experience and a way to improve the company. And so I just called him up and said, dude, if I buy you a plane ticket, will you come here on Monday? And there he is. He's sitting right here. Look at that. He's sitting
Well,
right
I was supposed to be here like 3 hours ago, but
Oh, yeah, there was that. He got held up. See, he chose to fly on Delta Airlines at a time when they're moving Delta from Terminal 5 and 6 over to Terminals 2 and 3. So if you think it's bad moving your like 3-bedroom house, Could you imagine
I don't know
moving
how
an
to do
entire
it.
airline and yeah.
It's a mess. We were waiting on the terminal,
Yeah.
or the tarmac, for an hour.
Before, after you landed?
Yeah, we
before-
landed at 2:01,
Yeah.
and I didn't get off the plane until after 3.
Were you like beyond?
Oh, yeah.
Are we going to turn on the news tonight and see you getting dragged off the plane by a couple of cops?
He did have a few swear words when he was
Oh, yeah. Those texts aren't suitable for.
No, we can't.
you know,
We can't put
family
those.
No, this is a
audiences.
family show. Okay, well, I want to finish up a thought with Chuck. So, okay, so you get up every day and you lay down your tracks because it's not work, it's fun for you, and you get paid for it. And what percentage of all the music that you create, so you're doing 1 or 2 a day, so let's say that you do 7 a week, just on average. Now that you're a veteran, you are a veteran of the TVQ world, what percentage of those end up in catalogs, number one, and then I'll hit you with the B part of that question.
I guess all of them, because I have my own catalog, my own library, and then I do stuff with other ones as well. One owner told me years ago, he goes, Chuck, everything eventually gets used. I'm like, cool. I've noticed that because I've had tracks. I found out a track that I did 12 years ago, which is kind of a stupid little country kind of track that sounds like a lemonade commercial. That got used. I'm like, they used that one?
Wow.
And it happens a lot. I've even heard stuff on shows before that, oh my God, I never thought that cue would get used. But the guy was right. Everything eventually gets used. You might think it sucks, but one day it'll find its way to there.
Is there a shelf life, when you make something, let's say, well, first of all, the gear is different, your skills were different. Mm-hmm. So let's say you laid down, a 2-minute instrumental cue in 2004. It sits there, right? It's still in the catalog. It's not like they go, oh, this is from 2004, let's take it out and clean the house. So will it get used even though it's stylistically dated, sonically dated, all that stuff?
They're like the supervisor on the 50 Cent reality show, when was this, like 2007, I think, called me wanting gangster orchestral hip-hop. Okay. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun. So did a bunch of cues, and she used them all, and they stayed in my library, and they, to this day, and that's like, they're over 10 years old, so I wouldn't say they're like current, but they still get used all the time on shows like Love and Hip Hop and Basketball Wives. To this day, those still make a ton of money. I'm like, wow.
Is this going to cause a bunch of our viewers to say, but Taxi's always sending my stuff back to me saying it sounds dated? Talk to me about dated, because a lot of people do get stuck in the era in which they grew up and fell in love with music, and everything they make dates back to that era, and we're going, it's pretty darn good. That's like an A-level thing. If they were looking for 1984, you would have nailed it. How important is staying current?
Oh, very important, because like I was telling you about the upbeat hip hop, which they really want now.
Yeah.
But you gotta, like I said, like we all talked about, watch TV shows, watch these reality shows or whatever, and see what's being used. And just write like that, because
it seems simple.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like I've noticed.
It's so understated. Yeah.
It's like I noticed the Kardashians used to be more hip hop. Now they're more like EDM.
Yeah.
So that show's been on forever, but the music direction's changed a lot.
It's funny. One of the people who works at Taxi is somebody who was the supervisor on Kardashians for years and years. And I'm sure that we've had times, he's also been a screener here at Taxi, and we've had times where he has returned something, meaning that it didn't get forwarded, and the member's like really, really mad. It's like, I can't believe this guy didn't forward my stuff. Well, who do you believe? When the guy's music supervised, a couple hundred episodes of the Kardashians, he would know.
Yeah, he would kind of.
All right, well, That's all good stuff. Why don't you play us something? Because I want to jump over to Matt's story here for a minute. But play us like 2 or 3 pieces of 2 or 3 different things that can give kind of a cross section of what you do every day.
What kind of music you want to hear first?
Play us.
Well, I just submitted for a dramedy listing this morning. So
Yeah.
I'll play this.
We probably won't forward you.
I know it sucks. Where the hell is the dramedy? Oh wait, no, that it. Oh, God.
Never there when you need it.
No, it's here. I'm just. Oh, there it is. Did I just see it?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. All right, this is one of the ones I submitted. This has been a real good song for me. Oh God, it's got that.
And you like in the sense that it's earning money?
Yeah, it was just one of my favorite, I guess, dramedy ones that I did, but it's done really well.
Carly loved it.
Sure.
That's what that thing looks like in real life.
That's it, baby. iCarly. There we go. Let's see. How long? I'm trying to write down some of these questions. How long? And what do you have?
I'll play a brand new hip hop track that no one's even heard yet because it's that new.
Wow.
I just did this one, so it's not on any shows yet.
Dirty.
Dirty. That sort of just repeats, does some other stuff, but that's maybe
B section. Remember before we were talking about A section and B section? There's a B section.
Right.
And now it's going to go back to the A.
Sort of
That was
builds.
still in the B. There we go.
And then it just kind of builds and layers until we get to the end. And
Here comes the big finish.
I'll play an example of what I was just talking about, that gangster orchestral stuff that was so good for me. There it is.
Gangster orchestral.
Gangsta. Yeah, I'll just pick one at
Your
random.
titles are always so good.
Let's go. Stop. Yeah, I mean, it's gotten the crap used out of it. Those things done, those Gangster Orchestra has done so well for me.
So
And that's like
imagine
12
that.
years ago.
That's 12 years ago?
No,
Wow.
not 12, probably 10,
Wow.
probably 2007.
So for those of you who are watching the show for the first time, because I've always got two audiences watching the show and people that watch the archive, many of whom are already Taxi members and know the drill and they know what we're talking about. For a lot of people who are new to the audience, you're probably sitting there scratching your head going, that's it? That's all you do is that same thing over and over and over? But you have to remember, it's extremely rare that music is ever the star. You're all about creating the vibe and being the underlayman, if you will, for the show. So yeah, you don't. If the music is so interesting that it draws the interest away from what the actors are saying, they won't like you in TV land, right? It's like Chuck Henry, bad.
Chuck Henry sucks.
But really, this is the interesting thing about TV cues is the art form is knowing how to build stuff that sounds intelligently crafted, yet isn't so interesting that it takes the focus away from the
Makes
stuff.
sense.
I just looked
Oh, look at
over
this.
at Matt and I went,
He got it on the wall.
the dude looks just like his kid. Or I should say his kid looks just like him. Look at that.
Oh,
Your
it's
kid
funny.
lives on my wall.
Taped to your wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a place of prominence in your office.
It is. Look, there's my
Wow.
grandfather up there, and then there's Jan Bars holding up a bottle of booze, and then there's you.
He got a fit.
Awesome.
Yeah, and a
Sweet.
fiddle. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw the episode, but I was cleaning out the garage. I'll make this short because I know you guys actually want to get educated. But I was cleaning out the garage a few weeks ago, and I found an old beat-up violin case. My parents had sent me a bunch of stuff from my grandparents' house.
I thought it was Stradivarius, right?
Yeah, I opened it up and went, I've already got one hanging on the wall. This one's kind of beat up. I was going to throw it out, and I just couldn't. Can't throw out an instrument, you know? So I actually took a flashlight and looked inside, and it says Stradivarius. Now, for those of you who have not had this experience, the first thing you do is go to the internet and look up. I found a Stradivarius that was in my grandparents' house. Now, you look at the case, the thing looks like it dates back to the Civil War. I mean, it's old and it's beat to crap. However, there were a bunch of German companies that made knockoffs of Stradivari back in the day. And they're everywhere. There are hundreds of thousands of them all over the planet. So while it may be worth, I don't know, $500 to maybe $2,500, it's not worth $19 million after all. Anyway, so there's my violin story for today. I'm sure I've got other ones. Okay, so play us. Do you have like an acoustic thing? Anything with a guitar, or is it all keyboard driven?
Oh no, there's a lot of guitar stuff. I just gotta find it. Here, talk to Matt for a second. While I find something.
So Matt, how was your flight, buddy?
Oh, don't even get me started. At least I'm here. I'm here.
How terrible was it sitting in that Uber on the 405, knowing that it was a parking lot and the show was starting? Was it like killing you?
The whole day's been like that. It's just been like that from when I first got on the freeway at my house and got a message that the flight was delayed by almost 7 hours. And I was like, oh, what do I do now? Should I even bother? Should I call Michael and say we just cancel? So I went to the airport anyways, and I was like, they got to have another option. And so it's just been hurry up and wait all day. Culminating in sitting on the 405 going 10 miles an hour. I was
In
like,
Texas,
man,
I'm at the cemetery. We're like,
Yeah.
he's only at the damn cemetery in Westwood.
There's only one cemetery off that freeway.
I think I run faster than that. If I would have got out and ran, I could have gotten here.
Carry
sooner.
a little motorized scooter with you, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's right. He wasn't dragged off the plane. There's that.
Yeah.
Did you find one yet?
God, this is a
Oh, look at
recent
that.
one.
Hopeful and Reflective, Volume 2.
I like this cue. I did it for Catfish, I think. I guess it's acoustic-ish, if I remember. Yeah, more like...
B section.
So piano player, it makes it easy.
Yeah. It is clearly reflective. You know, it's the passage of time and thinking, you know, I mean, it's very obvious what the mood is.
And my friend, drummer, who's, I couldn't give a name for this. It's like, can I say this song? Any idea for a title? This one goes, Dreamcatcher. I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like he nailed it right off.
And this is all done with the keyboard. No actual acoustic instruments? Or?
Yeah, just my piano and percussion stuff that I put in there and bells and stuff, strings.
Acoustic strings or?
No, well, they're samples of
Right.
whatever I was using.
By the way, good example of a non-faded ending with a natural ring out. All that stuff you read in the taxi listings, there it is, damn it, right there, before your very eyes. Oh, and the applause to go with it. I think that a lot of people just don't understand that there is an art to crafting a cue, that its goal is so different than what we often draw the differentiation around here about instrumental and instrumental cue. And I define instrumental as a song that's had the vocal taken out and maybe a little bit of the melody put back in, but it's basically constructed like a song. And a cue is constructed more frequently like this, which is a lot of A section, probably, I don't know, 4, 8 bars of a B section, then back to the A section, and ding, and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, for those of you who don't know, it's built that way because it's got to be one thing from the beginning to the end. It can't go through. A common rookie mistake is trying to score an entire film and show, look, I can introduce this emotion and that motif, but you can't be an editor or music supervisor and use that in one scene. If you had to take a guess at how long the average runtime when your stuff gets used, I mean, seconds, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
how often do they ever use like an entire cue?
Oh, never. Maybe a few times, I guess, but mostly it's just average of 10 and 30 seconds. Sometimes a minute. It depends on what type. If like it's a kind of a tension droning underscore, that usually goes for a long time.
Right.
Like, cha-ching.
Gotta say, we've done very well with our members doing drones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff is out there. Okay, so Maddie, welcome to Los Angeles.
Thanks.
Glad you did make it. And look, even though you were late, the plane didn't crash, right?
I got that going for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so here's why I wanted Matt on the show, is that, let's see if I can do this without ripping it.
Christmas card.
So he sends me, I've known you for easily 2 years, maybe 3 now, right? I had you on
Yeah.
a panel at the Road Rally.
Yeah, that was a couple rallies ago,
Yeah.
I think.
And I just remember him being very enthusiastic in the beginning, like, I can do this, which is always a sign to me that somebody is going to do it when they kind of say out loud, I can do this. So this year, probably 2 or 3 weeks after Christmas,
Yeah. I got mine late too. He was a bit tardy sending them out.
I remember to get them printed.
Yeah. Let's see, Shutterfly. No. Anyway, I get this in the mail from him, a picture of Matt and his daughter Espen, and it basically says, well, can I read it? It's okay if I read what's in there? I've said
forgot what I wrote.
Well, we're about to find out. I hope there's nothing in here that I can't say on live TV.
Did you drop an F-bomb in there?
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for all that you and Taxi do for us little old musicians who are trying to make our way and create a career out of our lifelong love of making music. Because of you and Taxi's help, I've finally turned the corner and am now knee-deep in my new full-time profession of writing music for TV. As you can see from the picture of my latest ASCAP royalty check, which I won't let's just say it there. It's a chunk of money. And where was I? Latest ASCAP royalty check. I just crested the X threshold, the single check milestone. The other thing won't make any sense out of context, but this is, to me, like the greatest honor in the world when somebody says, because of an idea that you had and what you guys do collectively under the roof every day at Taxi, my life has been changed. So he was a college professor. I mean,
yeah.
Look at that. Do you believe that was a college professor? It's like, what kind of college did
they hire anybody these days?
Where were Boise State?
Yeah.
And what were you teaching?
Well, I taught in the communication department.
Yeah.
So I started by teaching Communication 101, which is like the intro class,
right,
where people have to give a couple speeches, and it's the class that nobody wants to take because there's that speech involved.
Oh man, terrifying.
Yep, yeah. And then I taught nonverbal communication class, and I taught some film studies classes, and then later, the last couple years, they kind of moved me into the audio production classes.
Wow,
So
a natural fit for that.
Yeah, I was starting to do that, which was really cool because it was kind of a different environment than the actual classroom thing. So I was rolling in and I wore this to teach in.
Nice.
I used to wear a tie and everything. I look real professional.
Wow.
What the hell did you do to your hair? You shaved that
Look at that.
No, you shaved the part off there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was when I was busting my phone a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the phone story. So okay, so the best part about teaching, being a college professor, is that you are no longer doing it.
Yeah, that is the best part. The best part is that it's a past tense job. It's one of those things I used to do.
It's astonishing to me when somebody has a dream, and this is what I'd rather be doing, which is music. And here he is sitting next to me now, a former, as we did with Chuck before, no longer has the day job.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't seem real to me, and I own the company. But to be able to do something you love every day when you get up and be the master of your own domain, oh man, I should have had the pictures. Damn it. Anyway, his studio, and I mean, he literally said to me, people look at it and they laugh, but he took a tool shed. I mean, how many square feet is it?
It's 10 foot by 14.
Okay,
But
so
what I didn't know is, because when I had it built, I requested it to be 10 foot by 14 because I'd measured a spare bedroom in my house, which is where I was doing stuff.
Okay.
Not realizing that the bedroom, I measured the interior,
Right.
and when they built the shed, they measured it from the exterior, so it's 10 by 14.
Minus 6 inches on either.
Yeah, so it's a little smaller than I thought, but it's cozy.
And this thing is sitting in his backyard on a foundation of rocks, right? Or
Dirt, yeah. The rocks are around it.
To make it look nice.
I didn't spring for rock under the whole thing.
And do you have an air conditioner in it? Or a heater or anything?
Better have a heater than winter. Isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a baseboard heater.
Okay.
So I had to pipe electricity out there.
Right.
From my hot tub pump. My hot tub hookup. So, anyways, it's got a floorboard heater, and it's got a window air conditioner, which I kind of put in for a few months every summer.
10 by 14, and it's sitting there. I mean, it looks like those houses on whatever channel they have those little mini houses that people buy.
Uh-huh.
It looks like that. It looks like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs are going to come out the front door. It's a little cottage in his backyard. And then he sent me a picture of the interior, and I'm not joking when I tell you he's got a 4.5 foot or 5 foot wide table with a bath mat thrown over the top of it, so it's not so reflective. And he's got a 2 or 3 octave keyboard sitting there, and he's got an iMac and a few microphones. He doesn't have $3,000 microphones, right?
No. No. Most expensive mic I've got is that Gauge.
And that's $150 mic.
Yeah, it's $75 if you buy it at the Road Rally.
Right, that's right.
That's right. $75.
Come to the Road Rally, buy at a discount. And it's a great sounding mic. I mean, the thing literally sounds like a multi-$1,000 mic, but $75 at the Road Rally. And so you've got the iMac, you've got the little keyboard, and no outboard gear whatsoever. So
Yeah,
for all these folks that go out and buy like the $3,000, D to A converter, and can't hear the difference between that. Oh yeah, and he's got an interface. What do you have?
Yeah, it's a Scarlett.
Focusrite Scarlett.
Focusrite, yeah, that was like $150.
And they get great reviews.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that most people, not all, I mean, I know people that have ears that can hear the difference, but I don't know that you could tell the difference between a $3,000 interface and the $150 Focusrite Scarlett. And most importantly is there's not a music supervisor alive that has ever said the words, "I love what you wrote, but I wish you'd used the $3,000 A to D converter interface so that, that keyboard sound would sound better." So with just that equipment, he is now making enough money that he was able to leave his job as a college professor.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. So when you first started with Taxi, how many years ago was it?
It's been a while. I want
Yeah?
to say it's been like eight years.
Okay.
But the first couple of years,
that's right. Yeah.
It was
Tell the
like,
story. It's great.
Okay, so I started. I started with Taxi. I didn't really know much about the company, but I'd been recording stuff a lot at a recording studio in Boise.
They have one there?
Believe it or not, nice ones too. Yeah.
They got running water and electricity.
And plumbing. We got indoor plumbing a few years ago in Boise.
I don't want to get any nasty cards or letters. I've been to Idaho at least a dozen times, and I love the state, actually. Might retire there someday.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
It
Yeah.
is. Good people. Great
So
skiing.
I originally started by writing country music because when I first found out about Taxi, my friend told me about it, and so I got on the website and I saw the country stuff and the dollar figures that are associated with landing a country hit, and I was like, oh, I can write a country song. Come on, that's easy.
Do you listen to country, like when you get
Well,
in
I
the
started
car?
to. Because I was like, I guess I better figure out what country music is all about, which is a very bad business plan. Usually,
It's like, I want to be a surgeon.
yeah. Usually, you should research something before you jump into it. But I just said, I'll write country music. I was a rock guy, I like hard rock, and so I went to a studio and paid. I think it was like $4,500
Wow.
to record 12 songs, maybe.
That's not so bad.
It's not. Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah, it's
but
like $400 a song. That seems like a reasonable.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The thing that made it horrible was I never got any feedback. Like I
just
never
went
went
in
out
and
and
did
like workshopped these songs, and so I didn't. I just wrote them and I figured they were hits. So yeah, I got these 12 number one hits just waiting. This CD right here is worth millions as soon as someone picks one of these songs.
They'll hear what a genius I am, and everything will change.
Yeah, exactly.
Private jets in your dreams. I get it.
Oh, and I thought, oh, by this time next year, I'm done. I'm like living in Nashville. I got
So,
gold records on the wall.
Why didn't you? I'm assuming the stuff wasn't forwarded. And
No, not a single one. It went 68 rejections and returns in a row.
Did you have like a Lasco voodoo doll sticking pins in it? I hate this company. I hate this guy. I mean,
It was close. It was close.
I don't. How did you take that emotionally? That had to be tough.
I remember it being tough. Yeah, because I sunk a lot of money into those songs and a lot of time and effort, and I'd had such high hopes just because I was naive, And I think being naive can set you up for heartbreak a lot more than being well educated on something, because you just don't know the reality. And so it was hard. All that money, all that time, and then I was getting the returns back that were like, too dated. Country only did this like 20 years ago. This doesn't work. We need high bar stuff. Are you even listening to the country charts?
Oh man.
Replace
So-
them?
Well, yeah. If I could find them, I don't even know if they're online anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's illegal to keep stuff like that online. They've got laws against
Yeah.
it. So, I mean, what kept you going? Because after 68 rejections over the course of a year, I would think that you do what so many other former taxi members have done, which is that company doesn't know their butt from a hole in the ground.
It was close. It was close. You know, I remember, I think it was after my first year of essentially just getting beaten down with every, like the ego just went tumbling to the ground after a year, and I got the renewal stuff in the mail.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. These guys want more money out of me.
Oh, man.
And I remember thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know, there's no way. And then at the time, I was working at a kind of a corporate job. I was working at the newspaper in Boise, and I was making decent money back then. So I just said, oh, okay, give it another year. And,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I might have even done the 2-year thing.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, 2 years, I'll pay this once. Yeah, at least I'm doing it for 2 more years. And I think after that, I went for 6 months to maybe even a year of rarely even checking the listings.
Yeah, why would you even want to submit when you've been smacked down repeatedly?
Yeah.
I couldn't blame you for not
Yeah.
wanting to do it again.
Yeah.
But you did it.
It was rough. Yeah.
Did you come up with a different plan second time around? Like, okay, I realized that they were right, that the stuff sounded a little dated and sounded not competitive with what the real songwriters in Nashville are doing. How did you break out of that, cycle of going nowhere fast?
Well, it was going nowhere fast. The tough part about it was, so I got all those returns and stuff, and once you're able to kind of take a back seat and step away from them, you realize, okay, that's probably right. And I listened to more
You're a
country.
bigger man than I am.
Yeah, well, it took a while. And listening to a lot of country music on the radio, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's what's making a country song now. Mine are clearly not there. They're still good, but who's going to cut, like, no country artist is going to cut a good song.
Right.
They want, like, everything on the album has to be an A+ hit.
Yeah.
So there's no way someone's going to take a B song, which I probably had maybe C+, maybe. They're average.
Did you have like intros, verses, choruses? I mean, structure was there and that.
Oh yeah, that was the full thing.
So you weren't that much of a novice. You just weren't writing at a super competitive level.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And where was your question?
Oh, what made you? Did you have a change of plan?
Well, okay. So I started getting those returns, and I started agreeing with them. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything I could do about like if the return said this lyric line doesn't work for this reason, that lyric line needs to change, or you have this thing thrown in here that doesn't make sense in context to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really go in and change those things because I would have to go to the studio again. So I had to not only pay the hourly rate at the studio, but I'd have to get that same musician or that vocalist because I was bringing all these people in, and I had no control over any of this stuff.
That makes people hate us even more.
Yeah.
When they figure out that the screener may have been right, but to change it is going to oh man.
I know, and so I was sitting on these songs now, which I once had high hopes for, and then I started realizing, okay, you're right. If this stuff was different, they would be much better songs. Not that they would ever reach the hit status, but they'd be better if I could do these things. But I could never do those things without shelling out the cash again. And at that point, it's like, well, it's like when you have an old car. It's like, do you pay the money to fix up the old car,
Right.
or do you just get a new one? You know.
Yeah.
So I went for a long spell of that, and that's kind of when I stopped checking the taxi listings at all. Even though I've never let my membership lapse in the last 8 years. There was that stretch where I never even looked at them because I was like, my music's not good enough. I can't change it, so why bother? And then you know what it was that really turned the corner is 5 years ago, I went to my first road rally.
Okay, that's our taxi convention for those of you who are newbies.
Yeah, and I'd been getting the emails for the years previous to that, and I just never went for some reason. But on this particular occasion, I happened to be in L.A.
Oh, wow.
Around that. I was taking a cruise.
Okay.
So I was on a cruise, and the cruise got back on like a Friday, here in L.A. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to go to this convention and see what the hype's all about.
And you didn't know anybody. You didn't know Chuck. You didn't know me.
I didn't know. No, nobody.
Okay.
Like I saw you, and I was like, "That's the guy." I was like, it's like kind of starstruck, and then I wanted to. There's my dartboard, my walking dartboard. So, no, but no, I didn't know anybody. Actually, Chuck unearthed. Do you remember that old footage?
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah,
we
Chuck
didn't
was-
until 2 years later after that. Right?
Yeah, 2 years after that.
And I was going, it was like before the rally, I guess, last year or whatever. I'm just looking at, I'm taking video footage because I'm just like, I'm getting all fired up looking at the footage. And I'm down in the lobby panning around through all the people, and I'm watching it, and also I'm like, oh, wait, stop that. Oh, hell, that's Vanderbilt. You were talking to Jacqueline. I think.
Yeah.
And I sent you, I was like, dude, I actually saw you 2 years ago before I knew you, and I sent you the footage.
Yep.
There your ass
Yeah,
was.
there I was. That was I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything.
Did you feel comfortable in the environment at the road rally? Or
well, yes and no. I was with a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "Let's go to bed," and I was like,
never mind.
Yeah, not go to bed in the fun way, It's like, let's just go to sleep. I'm tired.
I was imagining like your first day at the road rally would be in the morning, and she's already talking about going to
Oh
bed.
no, because we kind of got in late.
Oh, okay.
Because by the time we got here, from the boat.
Got it. All right.
So we did a few things, and she wanted to go to sleep early, and I was like, well, I want to go mingle and see if I can meet some people. I had my CD full of country songs.
His shy personality would be tough.
Yeah. I was like, I got this country CD right here. I'm going to go make my $1 million waiting for me down the lobby.
What she said, though, something snarky.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's just like,
She's not your
Just don't
girlfriend anymore, right?
No. So I had this. I wanted to go down and see if I could mingle. And the time that I went downstairs, there wasn't that many people in the lobby, so it was kind of a down time. And then I was thinking, oh, she's up there. She's upset that I'm not with her, and I guess I'll just go back up to the room. So that was my first road rally. Was like I went to some classes. I didn't do any socializing, so. I didn't really make the most of the experience. but what it did do is it showed me that I needed to be able to do this stuff from home.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the key takeaway.
You didn't have to go to an outside studio and pay them $300 or $400 a pop.
Right. And I was talking to other people who were all doing this from their houses.
Yeah.
And I come from like this mindset. I don't know where I get this from, but my train of thought was always that you had to go to recording studios to make music. Like you got to go to the professionals.
I understand that because, for decades that's the only way you could do it. It really wasn't until the advent of the Alesis ADAT in the very early 90s that the paradigm started to change, but it wasn't until Pro Tools became ubiquitous and Apple put in GarageBand in virtually every one of the computers that things really started to change. So you were just trained,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
think like that.
Yeah, that was totally ingrained in me that if I wanted to make music, you had to go to a studio because anything you were going to do on your own was going to be crap. Okay.
So how did you learn how to do that? How'd you know what equipment to buy? How'd you teach yourself how to engineer your own stuff?
Okay, so I came back from that rally realizing that I needed to do this on my own. And so I set this goal for myself that I was going to start writing music for TV. And I was going to do instrumental stuff because that way I didn't have to rely on vocalists.
Smart move.
So I'm
a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm not much of a singer, not really a singer at all.
Yeah.
And so if I could cut that part out of the equation, then I might be able to do this stuff on my own. So that was my goal coming home from that rally.
So you're a pragmatic guy. I mean, I like the fact that you saw things and made one choice over another. It's
Yeah.
good move.
Yep. And but the tough part to that was I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything.
But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Everybody, Chuck didn't know what he was doing when he started. I mean, always a great piano player since he was a kid, but you didn't know about production or engineering.
No.
When
I
did-
opened up, like, when I first got Pro Tools, opened it up, looked at the interface, I'm like, what the hell do I do with it? Where do I start? You just learn one thing each day. It's like, oh, that's how that works. And then the next day learn something else. And
Now
eventually,
with YouTube, I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
sat down. I got a thing from Apple saying, there's a new version of GarageBand. Do you want to download it? So I said, you know what? I haven't even looked at GarageBand in like 5 years on my computer, and I fired it up on this computer and went, wow, the interface is totally different from the last time I touched it, but it looks really capable. So I went on YouTube and watched a video, and 20 minutes later, I had half a song done.
yeah, I've heard it's a lot better now. They really improved it.
Phenomenally
Yeah.
better. Anyway, so you learned how to do this stuff, and how long did it take you before you felt competent?
Honestly, it probably took 6 months of just churning out garbage before I had something that I was like, okay, this is, it's not great, but at least I can play this for someone and not be super embarrassed. But when I first started, I was showing stuff to everybody.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it on my own. I was so excited and proud of it, and people were like, "Oh, that's great," but they were just saying that because it was garbage.
But you know what? Every single person has been there.
Yeah,
That's what makes the taxi community, I think, so supportive. People ask me this question: why is it that you go on some forums online and everybody's like, "Dude, your music sucks"? You go on the taxi forum and you can take the worst sounding stuff by the most obvious, neophyte, and yet people will be encouraging.
Mhm.
And I believe it's because they all remember when they were like that, and they want to give back. So I give you a lot of credit. I give the people that supported you a lot of credit. Even though when the elevator doors shut and you were going upstairs to go nighty-night, they were all laughing at the bar, falling down, going,
Oh, they were?
believe that guy?
He's going up to the Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Loser.
And why did you? What was the moment where you decided to do TV stuff versus? I mean, the logic for why you wanted to get out of country makes sense. Why did you decide TV cues were the way to go? Was it just strictly you didn't need vocals, and that was kind of
That was
the deciding
that was
factor?
pretty much it. Yeah, I wanted to be able to make stuff on my own that was marketable or had some type of monetary potential.
Yeah.
Knowing what I was capable of doing. It's not that I'm adverse to working with vocalists. It's just that's one more schedule to throw in there. I work with some great vocalists now that I've met through Taxi. Killer guys. But what you have to work with in Boise is not quite that same talent level. So I just wanted to be able to do everything by myself. So
And now you do.
I do.
Do you want to pull up your SoundCloud and play something that we should hear?
Sure.
Just give these folks watching the show a little context. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go stick my nose in the chat room and say hi to those guys. Hi, guys.
I told Michael how we
Hey,
met that time.
Gaza X, how are you, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while.
Hey, look
Look at that.
I finally updated my picture.
I've got a copy of that thing. Oh, remind me, I want to show you, I got the artwork back for the ad.
Oh, nice.
I haven't done a new taxi ad probably 5 years or more, and people are like, dude. So MVB over here is in our next ad.
Yeah.
But it's tough because normally we just have a picture of the person's face. In this one, we've got a picture of the face. We've got a picture of the love shack, as I like to call it, his studio in the backyard. and then we've got a picture of his bath mat with equipment on it in the studio, all to make the point that you really don't need. Some people just don't get started because they think they have to spend like 20 grand on gear to start. And you really don't. Yeah, don't play that stuff.
Oh.
I'll play this one.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
This-
tell us what it is.
This one is a tension, like a ticking tension type thing. And a couple years ago, well, that's from judging from that cover, maybe 2 years ago, I did this for the show Catfish
Mhm.
on MTV. And so the supervisor liked it so much that he sent the library owner that I wrote it for, sent him a message saying, "This track, we need that guy to make more of these tracks." So
So it happens.
that was the first time. I think you remember that email, yeah? Because
What-
Chuck texted
what-
me too, because he got it as well. And he's like, "Your track is the reference track." So ever since that point, this particular cue has been on, I want to say, pretty much every episode of Catfish
Wow.
for the past couple of seasons.
The-
So it's turned some good money.
if I bet anything that if you watched a typical episode of Catfish, that probably 50% or more of all the music on there is Taxi members. Because I know so many people that have stuff on there.
Yeah.
And they work with several different libraries. So over the years, it's like you got in this library, Chuck got in another library, somebody got in another library. The culmination is that if I watch an episode of Catfish, I'm constantly going, I know that piece. I've heard that. It's pretty cool.
I get a cue sheet, so I'm like, well, I know him. Well, I know him.
Yeah.
Catfish is pretty much
exactly.
like scored by Taxi.
Yeah.
They should just say that in the credits. Music supplied by Taxi members.
Remember, what's I think it's still on the air, the family with the beards.
Duck
Duck
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Yeah, Duck Dynasty. Somebody once sent me a cue sheet from a single episode of that. And 22% of all the music in that episode were just Taxi members that I knew on a first-name basis.
Jeez.
How many people in there that I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and whack play. What's the cue called?
Deception Spreads.
Okay.
I remember country stuff.
I'm not playing.
All right, play us something else. Give us another genre.
Another genre. Oh, okay. Here, I'll play this one. This is probably my most played hip hop track, but also my least paid hip hop track.
Okay, so it's on shows that have very low performance.
Yeah, in this case, I think no performance royalties.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So this particular piece of music has been used for the last 2 years on like nearly every single sporting event on the Big Ten network.
Okay.
Football, basketball, volleyball, wrestling, frisbee, everything. Not even a single penny has come back to me on that, but it gets used all the time, so that's cool.
I
Not
once
when you're
got-
trying to pay your bills, but
I got a call from a large sports network about 7 years ago, and they said, we want you guys, so much of the music we use started with Taxi, went out to libraries, and then ends up getting used on our network. We want to build an in-house library, a massive in-house library. And so I called a friend of mine who's, I always say he's like the Clive Davis of the music library world, said, this is awesome, although I can't make any money from it because I've got to stay neutral, but still it'll create a ton of opportunities for our members. And he said, don't do it. And I said, why? He said, there's no money in doing music for sports television. I said, why? And he said, think about it. Local net, regional, so much of sports is local. People want to watch, like the Chicago Bears in Chicago, but Miami people won't watch the Bears unless they're playing the Dolphins. So many of the broadcasts are local nets and regional nets that the money's just
Even
not...
they are. It's like it's a football game. It's played once. They don't do reruns.
Right, exactly. That's
So it's
exactly
played
where I
done.
went with it. And he said a lot of the uses are ephemerals, which means that it's used kind of on the fly and there's no royalties paid on it. So, although it's probably very satisfying to have your music on a big sporting event, the money sucks. So
Yeah.
let's hear it.
Yeah, it really does. Well, on this particular, the Big Ten network, I think you have to even have a special subscription to get it.
Yeah.
So it probably doesn't have a very big audience, but this piece of music gets used a lot anyways.
I like the kick in the bass.
I like that question. Yeah.
Oh,
In all caps. Right. And you get the gist of that one.
Just got me.
What I thought was funny about, I remember writing that one, and as I was writing it, I was like, this thing doesn't really climax, because the drums do this kind of weird thing that it doesn't, to me it felt like it never really fully got off the ground and got rocking.
Right. But he had to
look,
get
Pedro
used
said
to
he knows it. Pedro.
Yeah.
Oh, hey!
Pedro in the house representing Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, Pedro. Okay, so somebody asked a question. Sasha, I think it was, asked a question. How do you balance work/social life when work is play and not work? Excuse me.
What's a social life?
Yeah, that's why I laughed at that, because
Oh, come on. But, I mean, neither of you guys are working like 18-hour days, right? I mean, you do. I mean, you've got a daughter.
yeah,
Which,
Yep.
I mean, obviously you can't shove her in a corner and say, go in, well, I mean, not as far as any of us know, can't shove her in a corner and say, go play with your toys for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
Daddy's got to make a track. Or do you?
No, she's in the age right now where I don't even, like when I've got her,
It's all her.
Everything ceases
Yeah.
while I spend all my time with her. So
It's the best time.
Yeah,
How old
maybe
is
in
she
a-
now? She's like 2?
she'll be 2 in a couple weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe in a year or two she'll be able to go out to the love shack with me. It's a bad word to use when you're talking about taking your daughter out there. The shed is what I call it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't.
But anyway, I laugh at
Chuck and I have sick mind. Both of us at the same time looked at each other. Nope.
That's not going there.
So anyway, how do you balance? When your work is what brings you joy in life, and it doesn't feel like work. I don't really understand the question, Sasha. There is no balance. I mean, it's all.
I got no balance. I have no work-life balance.
You gotta give your ears a break at some time and go out and have some fun and just get out of the 4 walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, go out and see people.
Do you guys get lonely working at home? When I started Taxi, and I was it for like the first couple of years, other than occasional help with stuff, I would be so happy to go see like the person at the post office behind the counter or go to the bank and make a deposit. Like, oh boy, I get to talk to other humans. Is that the downside of working alone in your home studio, that you get a little isolated, or is it not bother you because you're so engrossed?
Friends over all the time, and we do stuff, and so sometimes it's actually nice just like let me work and just be in my own little space and quiet.
How many hours a day do you guys work typically, really?
If I'm putting in a full day, so this would be like a day where I don't have my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I'll typically start around 8:30 or 9, go all the way to until I go to a CrossFit class. That's my one social thing that I do. Come back home and work until like 10 p.m.
Okay.
So like there's no social life. I got no social life. I
But you're
spend way too much time.
So,
doing
okay,
this.
so if you spend 90 minutes to 2 hours between the drive to and from the CrossFit class and everything, and you're doing roughly, let's say, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., so that's 14 hours minus, so you're doing a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
And how many days a week do you have Espen where you can't work?
3 or 4 days a week, but it's kind of for small blocks of time. That's
Okay.
it. It's a bummer, but it does allow me to work more. So I guess there's a silver lining to that.
Someday her college will be paid for by what you're doing in that shed today.
Yeah. That's one of my goals. Yeah. But I don't know. I work 7 days a week,
Yeah.
just nonstop. I don't hardly ever see my friends anymore. That's why I got to fly down to LA to hang out with you guys.
I think friends are overrated. I'm kidding. No postcards, no letters, no emails. But no, I get it. I've got to say, right now, my wife is out of town. Our 16-year-old daughter hijacked my wife's car, and she's been gone. And I spent the entire weekend working. I'm like, this is golden. I hate it and I love it at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
I hate myself for having no life outside of it, but I love it when I accomplish something and feel good about it.
Yeah. Oh, I get done with a long day, and it's just like, yeah.
That was productive.
That was awesome. I wish I could have more days like that.
Yeah.
It's like I've never said I wish I could work another 14-hour day
Right.
before in my life. Usually,
But-
like if you're working a job you don't like, 3 hours is way too much.
Yeah.
But
Let's do a couple more questions. A big part of doing this full time is, I don't know if this is a question, not having to stop if you don't want to, as long as you don't ignore. It's not a question, but
very true. My man Marcus.
question: how can you check to make sure your cue title is original, not previously used by another musician? That's a great question, Gloria.
Well,
Is
you
there a way to
can't-
check?
Well, you can't copyright
Or a title,
titles.
so it doesn't
I mean,
matter.
There's a lot of titles that are the same.
Yeah.
You just
Make sure you don't have the same one in your own catalog so that it gets registered twice, and that causes a big mess with ASCAP and
yeah.
double registration. They don't like that.
Yeah, as long as your titles are unique to yourself, it
Yeah.
don't matter. I remember I named a track 99 Problems because I thought it was unique.
Or there were like a zillion of those?
Oh yeah, it's who was that guy? I got 99 problems, and a chick ain't one. Remember that? I can't remember.
Must have been country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Jan Bars, how are you? Look, you're on the wall too. Very reflective environment. All right, play me something else. Give us something that. Give us what's your best earning track so far. Is it easy enough to find out?
Oh.
Or is it going to shut down the show because the publisher's going to say, and make YouTube mute my show?
No, I don't. I haven't actually. I don't put many tracks on here anymore. Occasionally, I throw some up if it's a new genre I haven't written in, just so if I send like libraries there, I can say here's a playlist to give you an idea of what it is. But for the most part, I don't put new tracks on SoundCloud. But let me see if I can find. Let me throw one in from this.
Looks like a relative of Sheryl Crow.
My
My wife does the best Sheryl Crow imitation with the funny lip thing.
See if. Okay, so this one is getting used all the time now in 3 or 4 different shows. And the only reason I know that is because I got this TuneSat
Yeah.
account, and it's the free one. So they only give you 50 detections a month.
Okay.
And so this is one of my tracks I've got on there, and it maxes out my detections within like a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I don't know what else
It
is
is
getting
called
used. But
Kick in the Pants.
Kick in the Pants. Oh yeah, it's Jay-Z. Believe it, that's the title.
Oh, that's how you used to do it. Shit.
Great example of how we're always talking about in the listings, layering extra stuff in to keep it interesting.
There's good edit points, too.
Yeah. Yep.
I learned that from Chuck.
Yeah. I like it. Sasha wants to know how many tracks you have out there.
Out there, meaning I assume out in libraries.
Yeah.
I'm almost to crest the 2,000.
And those are all
Mark.
original titles, or are those cut downs and stuff from?
No, nope, those are all original. Although I don't know, probably 400 of them, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe 300 are non-exclusive.
Right.
And so maybe it might only be like I got 100 non-exclusive songs, but I got them signed to 3 different libraries, so that counts as 300.
Got it.
Yeah, but it doesn't count any of the alternate mixes or the cut downs or the stings or
So
anything.
you're really productive. How many of these do you do in a day or in a week? Give us some perspective of your prolific output.
So I set this goal this year to do 500 in a year, which would have been 10 a week.
Wow.
On average, and I'm gonna get higher than that. I might get 600.
Really?
Yeah, I just finished 221 last night.
And that's just in 2017.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. I tell you, no social life can really do wonders for your productivity.
Well, I'm going to leave it to work now.
Yeah. I mean, that is I can't think of anything to say without swearing, but that's a lot of output.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a lot of coffee too to make that.
What time do you go to bed at night? I mean, do you work from like 8 in the morning till 2 in the morning?
No, I usually I start running out of energy by like 10, so I quit at 10:30 and jump in the hot tub. That's where I stop.
Do your neighbors all think you're odd?
Oh yeah, I had these neighbors. They don't live by me anymore, but they like had these theories about what I was doing out in the shed because they see the lights on and
Yeah.
the computer monitor would cast this weird like glow, and they're like, "We thought you were like murdering people and hiding,
Yeah.
like maybe you had a storage facility cooking meth or something."
Yeah, Dexter, you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Like, no, nothing that exciting. I just sit in front of a computer screen.
Wow. I can't believe you've done over 200 so far, and wow, we're only a quarter of the way into the year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I wanted to get to 500, and then when I started realizing that I was on pace to go above that, now I do these self-inflicted challenges, which is just weird. I'm like, I wonder if I can do this.
I wonder why there's so many people out there that will spend like 3 weeks on one piece of music, and they just like when you were doing your country stuff, and they place all bets on red, and they spin the wheel, and it's like, it didn't work. I like the make a million mistakes rule. Just keep cranking them out. Make a lot of crap. Go in with the intention of making a lot of crap, because with every piece of crap you make, you're getting less crap.
Yeah, oh
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. Like, the only way to get better is just to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you'll work your way out of the crap eventually, as long as you keep working.
I can't believe that you're doing that much already. All right, we're already over our allotted time, but we'll go a few more minutes. Take a couple more questions from you guys. How do you when did you know it was time to quit your day job? That's a great question.
Oh, well, it was kind of easy for me. I again, this was a goal that I had, that when my royalty checks hit a certain level, then if you forecasted it out, that would give me more income than I was making in my career as a college professor. So it was, I always had it in my mind that as soon as that check hit this threshold, that's when I was bouncing. Because there was really no reason to believe that the income was going to go down. It still could, but I think as long as I keep...
It would
sending
take some
stuff-
sort of natural disaster or a sea change in the entire industry. I mean, look, I know the numbers at this point, your numbers from the last 2 quarters, and it went up by 30% from one quarter to the next, and somewhere around 30%, right?
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah,
Or maybe even more.
I didn't run a percentage on it. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
right.
I mean, with the output that you've got, and people don't think it's impossible. You are proof that, I mean, if you can do 200, that's 50 a month in the first 4 months of 2017. I mean, that's a lofty goal. That's a really lofty goal. That's a guy who has no life, but that's okay.
This is true. You pick your poison. What do you want, friends or output?
Yeah, well, you know what? You're investing your time and energy now to make sure that someday, as Matt told me when we were doing the ad together, he said, yeah, someday I want to have a few retirement places to go to, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Chuck's got 2 houses
Yeah.
and 2 cars.
Well, Chuck was my inspiration from when I first started. Well, it was after that first rally I went to. 2 years later, I went back to another one. That's when I met Chuck. And he was really the inspiration for me even pushing myself as hard as I am. Because I remember my very first check that I got, which was, I don't know, 3 years ago now. And it was $225, and I was through the roof. I was so excited.
I remember that. You sent me an email,
Yeah.
and I think
yeah.
you posted on the forum. But look at that. In 3 years to go from that number to where you are now per quarter, it's insane. But it just absolutely proves the point. Just do the work.
Yeah,
Quit whining, quit complaining, and just
don't make
do-
excuses. That's
Yeah.
my main thing.
Yeah.
Excuses won't get you anywhere.
No, and you're going to hear, and I heard this a lot before I ever started making any money. Like even some people on the taxi forums, not regular presences, but people would occasionally throw in, their one post because you see the number 1 by their name. Like, there's no money in this. I got my first royalty check, and it was only enough to buy a Big Mac, and the TV doesn't pay. And I was reading all that stuff before I ever even got my first check, and I was like, holy crap. At that point, I'd been working for like 2 years,
Yeah.
not making any money, and I was like, oh, a Big Mac? That's the light at the end of the tunnel? All this work? And that's what I'm going to
thank
get?
God.
It's like $5!
But thank God you didn't believe that.
No, I didn't. And what it really was I sent Chuck a picture of my first check for $225, and he goes, that's awesome. Keep working. And he sent me a picture of his. I was like, oh, there is some money to be made in this business. And so ever since after seeing what kind of checks Chuck was cashing, I was like, dang, it is possible. And I'm gonna get up there. I want to do it.
I've got to tell you guys, I read probably one financial book, like Where to Invest Your Money, a year. And I was reading one written by Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's among the better ones that I've read. And it talks about everything from investing in stocks, investing in bonds, and investing in annuities. And this past weekend, I was working ridiculous hours, had the house all to myself, and I'm reading his book going, this is probably at least in the top 3, maybe the best one that I've ever read. Makes a lot of sense, very practical. And then I thought to myself, the taxi members like you guys, the investment you've made in your music is going to pay off infinitely better than any of these things in that book, making 4%, 5%, 6%. People are so tickled pink to make that money, but look where you've come in 3 years, going from $200 a quarter, $200 in a quarter, to where you are now, which is a fraction of what Chuck makes, but you will be there. I mean, Chuck and I haven't talked about this before you got here today, but I have no doubt that he's going to be a 6-figure guy. Do you? I mean, we're not
You
being...
can join the club.
We're not being kind.
Some
It's just-
nefarious characters in that club.
But they've all got one thing in common, which is they just didn't quit. They all
Yeah.
said there's money to be made, and they just didn't quit. They didn't let the Big Mac thing scare them. They didn't let all the naysayers that hang out on other forums. It's awesome. I couldn't be more proud of you guys. All right. With that, we really need to wrap up the show, and I'm sorry that we didn't do more Q&A with you guys, but I'll have these guys back.
Maybe I'll be on time next time.
Yeah, well, I'm
That'd be
just
cool.
grateful that you got here in one piece today. But thank you guys. I am just like
Yeah.
so proud of both of you guys. It's like they're normal, regular guys. Well, regular.
Well,
Yeah.
Let's
look at my
Look at my
haircut.
haircut.
That's not exactly normal.
Normal.
I don't know. In this town, that's pretty normal. Anyway, we will see you guys. I can't remember what I've got scheduled. I know that Chuck and I are going to do a thing in his studio on June 5th.
I think.
Yep, we're going to lay down some beats. He's going to lay down some
I don't
beats.
get tired of seeing me every morning.
You know, you really have only been on like 2 or 3 times in 7 years of doing this show.
Yeah.
So
3, I think.
Yeah, but you know, I think it takes the mystery out of it for people. They can even hear a finished track, go, I wouldn't know where to start. You're going to show them where to start.
All right.
So, all right. Thank you all for watching. See you next week for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Bye, you guys. Thanks for watching.